Okay, so Rochelle Cross may have revealed a little more than she intended. Okay, so it opens with May. She's at Calvary. It's late. She's probably the last person there, and she's composing an email to send out to all the children, the grandchildren, about the divorce. And basically, it was the gist of the email was that the divorce is final, and basically that chapter of our lives are closed, but we are still a family, and we're still your parents, and we're going to move forward, and hopefully this will bring us closer, and you know, that whole thing. So it was a very heartfelt email. Even Zora's ass was laying up somewhere reading it. So we go to Calvary. So Rochelle and Gigi are arriving at Calvary, and they're talking about Corley's case. And if they see her, she's already there at Calvary, so they're already concerned, like, why is she here so early? So they go into the office, and she tells them that she accepted the DA's deal. And she was like, well, I thought it was a one-time thing. She was like, well, yeah, he offered it again. And so they were like, well, you know, we just found this great attorney who's willing to represent you. He thinks you have a solid case. And she was basically like, you know what, if I go to court, if I take the deal, it's 20 years. If I don't take the court, I'm going to spend the rest of my life in prison, and I'm never going to see my children again. Or not really necessarily see them again, but may as well. I mean, she's going to miss their entire life. And so she's scared. And so at least with the DA's deal, there's a chance that she will get out of prison at some point. And so she was basically like, I'm not a hero. Gigi was like, you know, if you win this case, it can set a precedent for all the women who, in these kinds of situations. And she was like, I'm just not a hero. I'm just little old me, just trying to do what's best for me and my children. And she was just like, you know what, I'm just going to take the deal. So she was about to leave, and Rochelle stopped her from leaving, and she told her a story about how her mother had did some time in jail, and that her and her sister ended up spending time in the system. And she said that she doesn't want that for Coralie's children. She was like, I'm going to do what I can. We want to help you to do what we can to prevent that from happening. It's not a good place to be. And so she said, I know you don't believe in God, but I think it's time to have a little faith. And so in the end, Coralie, she agreed to at least meet with the attorney. Okay, so next you see May and Maxine. They're coming. They're arriving at the church. Of course, they're still getting ready for her May's program, and they run into Bishop, and they're little niceties, and he made some comment about who's the donkey, and she looked at him. This is Maxine looked at him like, nobody, but you're the ass. And then he just laughed and kind of walked away. And so Maxine was like, he looked scared as I don't know what. And so May was like, yeah, I almost feel sorry for him. I'm like, okay, May, you don't count your eggs just yet, honey. Things tend to take a turn in your family. So, hold your horses. So it seems like after that whole meeting, Gigi rushed back to her office to call Darius to let her, because she feels like maybe she's able to provide him with a little more information so he can do more research on Rochelle. Okay. So the bishop was walking. Rochelle is like in one of the conference rooms, because that's where they're doing where they hold the meetings, I guess, for the legal defense fund, because right now they don't have an office. So of course she sees him walking down, and she waves him in, and they trade niceties, and she basically said, is it true? And he's like, well, what do you mean? What? Is it true that that your divorce is final? And he's like, well, where'd you hear that? And she was basically like, everybody, it's all over town. And he told her, yes, my divorce is final. And she said, well, do you want to go out for drinks to celebrate, or want to have drinks of condolences? And he actually was like, sure, that sounds good. And I'm just like, oh my God, Bishop. So Coralie meets with the attorney. He seemed very convincing. But at this point, I'm not really sure, because Rochelle has her hands in so many different pots, knows so many different people. I don't know. I'm going to reserve my opinion. Okay. But so she decided to go ahead and let him help her, basically. So she's not going to take the plea deal. Kerissa shows up. They finally have an accountant. For whatever reason, the whole time Tasha was there, they didn't have an official accountant. So Kerissa shows up to introduce herself to the accountant. His name is Joseph. And he was like, you know, the way that she kept records and it just, you know, it's kind of confusing. And then he found this account where money has been going into this account. That account he signed for when she was putting papers in front of him, he was just signing the shit for whatever reason. Still confused as to why he trusts Tasha, even though she's the wife of your enemy. But anywho, so he found this account. He's like, and so Kerissa, he's showing her, you know, these transfers into this account. And you should have seen Kerissa's face. Her eyes got big. Like, no, I don't know anything about this account. What the hell is that? Okay. So, Zora, I'll be sure, is doing a little radio interview about his upcoming album that's coming out. And of course, Zora is there. She's in, obviously, another room. But she could see him during the interview. They asked him some questions. He was cocky and just the asshole as usual. And then they started taking calls. The girl started calling. You could see Zora's face feeling some kind of way. The second girl was like, well, what happened at that event? I guess she was talking about it to continue when he got shit knocked out of him by Jacob. But he was like, you know, I don't really want to talk about that. She was like, so what is it? Is she your girlfriend or what? And he was like, well, yeah, you think you guys should call and the music's going to be dope and the whole da-da-da-da. Basically, he didn't even confirm. So he didn't even claim her. Okay? So for all you put your family through, for all he's done to you, he's probably still doing to you, he can't even claim you as his girlfriend. And I guess she forgot to turn the phone off. It went off towards the end of the interview. And so when he left after the interview, you know, shook hands, went out to get his jacket. He was like, you know, you keep fucking up. And he snatched his jacket from her and walked away. And she kind of just washed that shade on like an abused puppy dog. Just, girl. Okay, that's your boo. That's your love, the love of your life. Okay, girl. Okay. So Charity, she's in her office and she's coming up with some music for May's event. In walks Michael. Michael is Maxine Patterson's musical director. And so, you know, at first they started to sit down and she was, you know, going over all the things that she's aware of. And he said, you know what, before we do that, can we just pray? And she was like, you know, sure, you know, I'd love to hold your hands and pray. She didn't say that, but that's basically what her eyes was giving. I mean, because he was easy on the eyes, of course. And the whole time he was praying, he was the only one that had his head bowed because she was too busy looking at him and grinning. I'm like, girl, you just got out of a divorce. The last guy that screwed you, he screwed you long enough to get what he wanted from you, or as much as he could get out of you, and then kicked you to the curb. And here you are making googly eyes at Maxine Patterson's musical director. Slow your roll. Slow your roll. So Maxine and May, they're talking about, you know, who's going to give what speech and, you know, going over the program. And May wanted somebody to do the speech, do her speech, or do a speech. But Maxine was like, she's boring. You know, you want to get somebody who's going to be more exciting. And of course she said you should get Gigi. May's nasty ass again. No, that's out of the question. And so Maxine is like, well, you know, that's who we need. You know, basically Gigi is the future, and she's going to be able to get the young people in the seats and to come to church, and that's what you're going to need. She was like, the answer is no. So Maxine was basically like, you know what? You know, I don't know why. You know, it seems like it's going to be a missed opportunity to me. I don't know why, but it is your day. And she just got on and walked out. But before she did that, Karine knocked on the door and told her that Lionel was on the phone. So I'm not sure right now if she knows that he's sick. But of course, when she told her that Lionel's on the phone, even Maxine, because of course she knows the story, she kind of looked at her like, oh, what he calling you for? So after they had their little exchange, she was like, okay, it's your day. She went and walked out, and May just sat there. It was like, oh, Lionel. Okay. So we don't know if she called him yet. So now Kerissa and Jacob, Kerissa got the paperwork from the accountant, and so she's now sitting down with Jacob and she's asking him about this account. So he's looking at these papers like he hasn't seen this account before, because he just signed off on the shit, and she went on to open, and old girl Rochelle went and opened the account. So technically he doesn't know anything about the account. And so Kerissa was like, okay, we need to get Tasha on the phone. And he was like, well, you know what, I'll call, she said she was going to call her. And then he was like, you know what, just let me handle it, I'll call her. So, of course, Carissa's mad, and it was like, stay firm, or something she said. She got the papers from Jacob and walked out. So he called Tasha. Tasha got a nice little crib there. I mean, she was just laid out on the little white it was nice, a little decked out little spot. But she laid kind of sprawled out on the chair with a huge bottle. I'm assuming that was Jack Daniels or something. She drunk off her ass. She saw the call, saw that Jacob was calling, and hung up on her like, oh, now you calling me. Now you want to talk. So that, we had banging at the door. So she walks around the corner kind of hid. And who was it? Rochelle was like, I know you're in there. So she goes and opened the door, and Rochelle was like, your phone broke or something? Tasha was like, I don't feel like talking. So she's like, why aren't you at Triumph? And Tasha said, because I quit. She said, excuse me? She said, you heard me, I quit. And so now Rochelle is looking at her like, bitch, you done screwed up. You about to screw up my plans. And we all know that if you don't know, you don't screw up Rochelle's plan. So it's gonna be interesting to see how she implicates, because she gonna turn on Tasha's ass and gonna implicate her in this whole embezzlement shit now, because she has a vendetta to settle. She seems like that kind of bitch. But we gonna play it by ear, okay? Okay, so Rochelle can't believe what she heard. So she was like, you what? Tasha was like, I quit. And so she was like, well, what are you doing? She said, I think she asked her what she was doing. And she said she was watching something on her laptop sprawled across the couch. And Rochelle knocked her laptop on the floor. And was basically like, you're not going to ruin my plans. And, the whole da-da-da. And she was like, you're trying to ruin a good man. She said, I've done my part. I set up the accounts. I did the transfer. There's really nothing left for me to do. I don't need to be there. I'm not doing anything else. You're about to ruin the life of a good man. She was like, a good man? What, Jacob? She was like, yeah, he's a good guy. And Rochelle looked at her with disgust and was like, are you in love with him? First Tasha was like, no, I'm not in love with him. She was like, oh my God, you're in love with him. What would Basie think? He's out here trying to get this money together so he can come back to you, and you disrespecting him. And Tasha, because Tasha was like, if he's the kind of guy, Jacob is the kind of guy I should have been with if I didn't get stuck with your piece of shit brother. And so, of course, Rochelle didn't take that like how could you say that to my face? You say that to me about my brother? And da-da-da. She was like, basically like, yeah, he's a piece of shit and you know it. So she was basically like, I'm done. I'm not doing anything else. There's really nothing else for me to do. The accountant set up the whole thing. And she was like, well, and then she told her that they had already filled the position. She was like, no doubt he's going to find all the loose ends you've left. Whatever. So she was basically like, she thinks that Basie's dead. She said, well, if he's not, she was like, why would you say that? She was like, well, if he's not dead, then where is he? And I'm thinking, it's one thing to be gone, but it's something completely different to like completely cut off all communication with your wife. So I don't know what Basie, it's quite possible that these people he owed money to caught up with him, who knows. But she basically threw Tasha out, like, get out of my house and don't come back. So Tasha went on out and got in her car, and she called somebody and was like, we have a problem. Who she called? We don't know. Okay, so Charity and Michael are finishing up their little meeting. It seemed to have gone well. Michael ends up asking her out. She basically declined. She was like, well, I can't. I would love to, but I can't. I have to get home to my son. And she was like, oh, well, Maxine didn't tell me you were married. And she was like, yeah, those things aren't mutually exclusive. Basically, I'm going through a divorce. And, the only reason I'm telling you this is because you might see him this weekend, but my ex-husband is gay. He's like, oh, okay. And so, very nice guy. And he left, basically. Left the office. Maxine goes to see Gigi. And she was asking her about the legal fund. And she offered to make a contribution. And then shortly after that, she said, this thing with your mom, what is that about? And so, of course, Gigi was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So she was like, oh, okay. She left it alone and gave her a hug and just told her to send her the information to, so she can help out with the program. And that was it on that. So Gigi, after she leaves, Gigi gets a call from Darius. And after doing his research, he finds out that it was 3 girls named Rochelle, but only one matches, could potentially be Rochelle Cross, and she was raised by Flatter, some family who lives in some place. So now they're about to get on the road, take a little road trip to go and talk to these people to find out about Rochelle. Okay. So, while Gigi and Darius are making travel plans, Rochelle's over at Percy's because Bishop is still staying with Percy, and they're on the little deck having a little drinking, a little drinky poo, a little wine. And he was basically saying that it's about time for him to find a place. And she was like, "Oh, well, I can help you with that." She was like, "Really?" She was like, "Yeah, that's basically what I do. I help you." And then they kissed. Okay, you know what? He's old enough to be your damn grandfather, girl. He's now I don't know grandfather. I don't know how old Rochelle is, but he's old enough to be. He's at least old enough to be your damn daddy. That was not cute. I am so sorry. That was not cute at all. But they did, and thank God it panned away because the last thing I wanted to see was them in bed. So thank you, Oprah. Thank you, Own. Okay. So Zora and Albie Shore is back at his apartment or whatever, and she's making him lunch, and she was telling him that Spellman contacted her and wanted her to come in for an interview. So, because he was like, "No, I don't need you to, no, you can't do that because I need you here with me." And she was like, "I don't see why. We're in Atlanta and it's probably only going to take an hour." He's like, he's this motherfucker, basically. I'm sorry, I can't even think of any other word to replace it with. You say, after everything that I've done for you, now you want to up and leave me? And she was like, "And what is it? What was that thing about the radio where the girl that huzzy called and you didn't want to claim me?" He was like, "Because." She's like, "Wait a minute, I was sitting in the room right behind you holding your jacket and you couldn't even claim me as your girlfriend?" He was like, "I'll claim you as my girlfriend when I feel you deserve it. When I feel you deserve me." And then he knocks the plate out of her hand and it fell to the floor, and he was like, "I told you I'm watching my carbs." Look, Albie Shore would have been under boot. He would have been underfoot. I swear. Girl. Okay, Zora. But, again, your mother told you that every choice you made after you decided not to get out of that damn car was on you. So, okay. Enjoy. Okay, so Tasha, she's still drunk off her ass. Her phone rings. I'm thinking, oh, he's Jacob trying to call her again. But no, it was Kerissa. And so she's doing the drunk babble. So I'm like, oh, Lord, what's she about to say? What's she about to say? And so she was like, she kept saying, "I'm not a bad person. And sometimes people that are not bad do bad things." And Kerissa was like, "Are you drunk? Are you high? What's up? What's going on?" She was like, the accountant, Kerissa said the accountant said something about an account. And she was like, "Oh, it was just a kiss." And Kerissa was like, "A kiss? Is that why you left?" Because in the beginning, when Kerissa decided to spend the day at the church because she knew Tasha had left, for some reason people kept calling Kerissa to ask about what's going on with Tasha and why Tasha left. So of course she doesn't know. So she asked Jacob, and Jacob was like, "I don't know. She just said that she was just leaving." Now Kerissa's putting two together. And you should have seen her face. She was like, "I'm not doing this. I'm not going through this shit with him again. Not again." Okay? So we'll put a pin in that. Okay, so Maxine and May, they're in her office and they're singing. It says "Eyes on the Sparrow." I think that's the name of the song. And I think she was trying to get May to sing on her big day. And so, of course, she was like, I'll think about it. She said, "Okay, this Gigi. Honey, what is going on with you and your daughter?" And of course, May was like, "Would you look at the time?" And Maxie was like, "Don't you do that, girl. May, what you doing?" So she got up and got her little purse and was like, "I'm going to have so-and-so bring your car." And she's like, "May, you not about to leave. No, don't do that." May wasn't trying to talk to her. She knew it. So she was like, I ain't even going there. It would be nice to know. And then, because you find out a little bit later. Then I think about, I didn't know why. Okay. So, okay. We're going to get there. Okay. So, of course, we flash back to Kerissa and Jacob. Kerissa, she stormed into that damn office and was like, okay. She starts questioning him, and he was like, "It was just a kiss." And I told her, "I don't get down like that anymore. I'm faithful." She was looking at him like, "Faithful?" She was like, "Okay." That was unfair to a certain extent when she blamed him for Zora leaving. And maybe me and I can't even remember that child's son's name. We should leave too. The man is supposed to be the pillar of the family, but you're not a pillar. You're a twig, and you're not even a twig. You're a puddle. She's just going off. She's like, I can't. But she's just so upset and starts crying. I can't believe you've done this to me again. So at the time this was going on, the accountant, he walks in. I was like, oh, I'll come back. They was like, no, what's the problem? He was like, well, I found out that $200,000 was deposited into that account, but then it was withdrawn, and I have no idea. I have no record of where that money went. So now Kerissa looks at Jacob, and now they're trying to figure out, okay, shit, what's going on now? What's going to happen to what's going on now? Okay, so Darius and Gigi arrives at Rochelle's her foster home, and they found out her last name is James. And so, of course, Gigi, knowing the story of the arson and the man being burned up in the church and James, she's not put two and two together. And then she looks over at Darius. I don't know if Darius necessarily put it together, but Gigi's like, I knew that bitch was up to something. But, okay. And so May finally goes to see Lionel. And she was like, what do you want, Lionel? He said, I need to talk to you about our daughter. Her resentment and anger at Gigi is based on some shit that she did. That didn't have shit to do with Gigi. You fucked Lionel. You went outside your marriage and screwed your husband's friend and got knocked out. And all of that animosity and vitriol towards Grace, which we already knew was unwarranted. But, and a lot of people speculated that one of the children might not be Bishop's anyway. So that's not a big thing. But you've been so angry and hurtful and evil to that girl for no other reason than being born. And you had her. Girl, whoo, family secrets. Family secrets. So Charity gets a call from Michael. I guess he decided to stay in town a little bit longer so he can so they can try the whole date thing again. But he said something about Kevin, about him being deceitful and him lying to her and the whole thing, which was true, but really wasn't his place. And so that kind of rubbed Charity the wrong way. And she basically said, you know what, this is not gonna work out. Basically have a nice life, and she hung up on him. Okay. So Gigi goes over to Bishop's house. And he's all happy, joy, feeling all young and carefree. And I mean, he's just a ball of energy. He's all, and so she's like, Daddy, I have something to tell you. And so he said, what? He said, the way you sound on the phone, it sounded serious. And she was like, it is, basically. Yeah, it's about Rochelle. He was like, you know what? If you, like, basically, you better have proof, back of what you're saying. She told him, Rochelle Cross is Rochelle James. She's Daryl James' daughter. And you can see his world just being spun out of control. He just feels like a fool. He's probably just going through a whole rush of emotions that he's basically put his life in the hands of his enemy. Their finances, his wife's, he emptied out their joint account. Like, he has just fucked up royally, and it's all coming to him at once. Like, you're probably not going to see that money again. Your ass going to end up in jail for your tax problems, and it's like probably everything was just coming to him at once. Okay, so we flash to Zora. Oh Lord, she was passed out on the couch, and she opens up the laptop, and I guess she saw the letter. I don't know if that's a letter she's sending to the school. She was kind of smiling like she's going to go ahead and meet with them or whatever. So, okay. Good for you, Zora, I guess. I don't know. So Kerissa and Jacob. Kerissa, so Jacob is still trying to call because they obviously back at the house now. And they've been trying to call Tasha all day about this account mess. And of course it's been going to voicemail. And Kerissa was like, you know what? You're sick and you need help. And called her again. He was like, maybe she skipped town. Maybe she's drunk. Maybe she's, going through him back and why she's not answering the phone. And so he calls again. She sends it to voicemail. Next thing you know, it's a banging at the door. So she jumps up. Okay, Tasha is a ghetto. She snatches a lamp up and basically like, Tasha, I told your ass to get on. She swings the door open like, bitch, get off my property. You better run. Like, she's about to haul off and knock the holy shit out of Rochelle at this point. And she's like, I told you to leave me alone. And then who comes peering around the corner, which I knew he was going to make an appearance at some point? Basie. So she dropped the lamp, falls down, it smashes to pieces. She's in shock, and she's like, oh my God, Basie. So she's down, all, you know, emotional, and he was like, you know, Tasha, you know, I heard you been a bad girl. So I'm like, are they going to kill Tasha? That's basically how the episode ended. So I'm like, are we going to find Tasha's body in some river or some shallow grave or something? What's about to happen? What Skanks and Rochelle Cross about to do to Tasha? I mean, okay. So yeah, that's how it ended. Oh, it's late. I'm going to end this here, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode.